So I've been telling people recently that I went to Spain for a week recently and spent less than $300 on everything. Airfare, food, attractions, everything. Well, how did I do that? And how can you do the same? We're gonna get into my best travel tips. I've been to 41 countries. I got some things to share with you. I'm gonna basically share this story of how I went to Spain for less than 300 bucks. I'm gonna share my 5 best travel tips that have saved me tens of thousands of dollars. You're gonna love it, so stick around to the end. It's gonna be good, let's go. All right, so this is gonna be a different type of video. This channel is really dedicated to helping people grow passive income and make money while they sleep. So if you're interested in passive income, growing your wealth, check the link below. Go to bronsonequity.com, you can check it out. So I'll talk a little bit about my trip. I went to 3 cities in Spain. I went to Barcelona, Seville, and Granada. And it was a blast, had a great time, some of the flamenco dancing and some of the structures, the Sagrada Familia, and just some of the museums. It was absolutely amazing. It was a really, really phenomenal trip. And I did it, I've been saying I did it for less than $300. I'm gonna share with you some of my secrets. But really the big secret here is points, is credit card points, airline points, different types of points. Now, if you don't have points, or you're like, hey, I don't spend a lot of money, or I just don't feel comfortable with it, just stick with me here for a minute. I'm gonna explain how this works, okay? I'm gonna give you some secrets that can get you from where you're at to like, oh my gosh, I have all these points and I don't know how to do this. So, all right, I can actually travel a lot more than I thought I could. So right now, you can see this here, I have 905,000 points just from a sketch I put together, but from airline points or credit card points. And when you count my hotel points, it's around 1.1 million. So that's a lot of points, right? That if you look at the cash value of that, it's about $11,000 or $12,000. And there's a way to be able to get there. So I'm gonna get into that here in a little bit, but just stick with me, okay? So how I did it is I used points. I found a direct flight from LA to Barcelona. And I have this service called Scott's Cheap Flights. I'll stick a link in the below, and it's basically about $49 a year. And I found in the past, I found a $265 flight to Estonia, which is in Eastern Europe, which was amazing. I went there about a year ago, and I had a $150 direct flight to El Salvador from Los Angeles, right? So there's, no matter what city you live in the US, if you live in a mid-size or a large city, there's these deals that come out every week, every day. They're coming out, and the premium of this Scott's Cheap Flights, or now it's called Going, is really worth it. So I used this $550 direct flight that I found through Going. I used points for that, right? So I didn't pay anything for that. I used my points. And then I basically have a buddy in Barcelona, so my buddy Billy Keels, who also has some real estate and alternative investing stuff he does. I got some dinner there, it was awesome. I booked the hotels with points, and these are similar hotels. These were not crappy hotels. I booked them with, they're similar to Marriott or Hilton. I stay in those for business sometimes, but these are hotels and they weren't that expensive. Also right now, I went in January, it's kind of an off-peak time, right? If you go in August, you're gonna have different rates and different kind of availability for flights and different things than if you go in the winter. So I had some flexibility to be able to go, so that's something to consider. And then, going to places like the Alhambra, the Sagrada Familia. Some of these I booked with points, some I did not book with points, and the ones I didn't book with points I wish I had, because I would have saved even more money. I spent money on food, I spent money on Ubers and buses, and I spent money on attractions. So, and one thing I wanted to point out is Granada and Sevilla, they call it Sevilla there, but Granada and Seville are crazy cheap. I mean, this meal here I got for $11 basically. It was 5 different tapas, and a drink. This one was $6.50 in Granada, and also with a beer. Really crazy, right? So these 3 different things plus this all together, $6.50. I was kind of floored by how cheap stuff was. It was actually cheaper than like going to the grocery store and buying stuff, right? So, but one of the things about these areas in Spain is the average person makes about $20,000, $25,000 a year, and it's enough to live and go buy tapas on and stuff. That would have cost me $35 in the US. So anyway, I'm gonna get into kind of the total and how to play the points game, how much I spent. So let's go into that. All right, so how I play the points game is I look at these big bonuses, and again, I'm gonna put my 3 favorite cards down in the bottom or in the description. You can check those out. I have 1 for business and I've got 2 for personal, and I'm just gonna get into those. But I'm gonna give you my 5 best secrets for travel. These things have saved me thousands of dollars, and this first one is absolutely amazing. So this one, I actually, this secret is getting a whole row to yourself on the plane. This is 3 to 4 seats. Again, a lot of times first class seats are 3-4 times as much as what you would pay for a just a coach class, right? So getting first class is awesome, but it can cost a lot more. So for example, I had a trip planned to Chile. I went to Patagonia, did a bunch of hiking. It was great, but I had this sciatic issue that came up, and it was giving me like level 7 or 8 out of 10 pain, 7 or 8 out of 10 pain. So I was getting a lot of pain from that. And I was like, I don't know, how much is it to upgrade to first class? Well, to go one way, the whole ticket from LA, and I had to connect in Houston to Santiago, Chile, that trip, round trip, was $450. But to just upgrade from Houston to Santiago, Chile would have been $4,500. So it would have been 10 times as much just to upgrade that one leg. And it was very similar cost on the way back. But I used this hack to be able to get a whole row to myself. So what I did is I go, and I have a screenshot here you can see, but you go, and when you check in, you can do the change seat option when you check in for your flight. So you can see where your seat is, and you can move seats, but you can also see, hey, this whole row is available, right? There's 3 or 4 rows that are available. So what I would do is I would look and say, okay, what's available? And sometimes you can check that right up until the time you board, or you can go and try to book a new flight and just see what seats are available, right? So you can go on the airline's website, try to book a new flight right before they take off and say, well, what seats are available? And then you can basically screenshot that. And then when you get on, you can say, I'm gonna sit in row 27, or I'm gonna sit in row 28. And I just sat there, and basically I got a whole row to myself. Sometimes somebody will come and say, oh, hey, I got a seat here. And I say, oh, okay. And then you move back to the next one and you try again. But it ended up being, for me, getting, as you can see, 3 or 4 seats to myself. And it was a much, much better experience. So that's a huge, huge advantage. I highly recommend. Tip number 2, one of my best secrets is airport lounges. If you're not using airport lounges, a lot of the credit cards give you airport lounges, particularly the American Express Platinum, which I'm going to put a link to in the bottom. This one, the Centurion lounges, or some of the premium lounges they have, are awesome. I brought my sister to go see Tony Robbins a little while ago. I'd never been to Tony Robbins, went to Florida, and we got there early. And I think we were flying like a really crappy airline. We flew Spirit, or we flew some like really not great airline. But we got there early and we went to the lounge. And at the LAX Centurion Lounge, they give you, the food, the buffet is awesome. We both had, drinks. They have a full bar. And then they had availability for a massage, right? So they've got a 15-minute massage, kind of get you warmed up. So you show up on your flight and you're like, okay, I'm relaxed. I've got a massage, I've got a drink, I've got some food. I feel really good. So it's a great experience. Because I travel a fair amount, it's really worth it. If you only travel once a year, it may not be worth it. But if you're traveling at least 3 or 4 times a year, it's awesome. A lot of times you can bring guests in there. So that's a great, great benefit, so that when you get to the airport, you can eat, or sometimes even when you land, you can eat. So that's a huge benefit. The third thing is last-minute flights with points. Sometimes it will come up where you just have to book a flight. Immediately, I had this happen where I had to change, or I had to be in Dallas last minute. The flight, I think one way was going to be like $650. I found a way to do it with points where the point value wasn't actually that much. It was actually much cheaper with a certain type of points. Some points, or some airlines, actually reduce the cost that it costs you to go last minute. And it's really ironic that the cash price is much higher, but the points actually, the amount of cost can go way down as it approaches a day or 2 before the flight, or even the day of. So that's something to consider, as last minute flights with points. Number 4, global entry or TSA pre-check. If you don't have global entry or TSA pre-check, I highly recommend it. TSA pre-check is really easy to get. You go in somewhere, you get an interview, and it's done. Global entry, you have to wait to kind of enter. You either set an appointment or you enter back from the US. But literally, I came back with global entry from Spain, and there was hundreds of people in line, and I literally went in and it scanned my face, and I was through in like 10 seconds. It was insane. I probably saved, just on that one thing, at least 20 to 30 minutes, and that's very common. TSA pre-check, I think the statistic is you wait 97% of the time, it's less than 5 minutes. So if you go to the airport and I've waited in line for an hour, half hour, or whatever, like it's predictably less than 5 minutes, which is absolutely incredible. So highly recommend that. If you're not doing that, check that out. It's typically good for 5 years. There actually are credit cards too, some of these travel credit cards, that pay for the fee of $80 to $100 every 5 years. So they pay and reimburse you for that. So it ends up being free for you. So another benefit of having these credit cards. The last, number 5, I want to share with you, and then we get into kind of how I did on my trip, and one last tip, and the credit cards at the end, is carry-on baggage. So some of these airlines that I don't prefer flying, Spirit Airlines, United, Alaska, Frontier, sometimes they will say, oh, you don't get a normal carry-on size bag. So here's a normal carry-on size bag. I have found that they will charge you if you bring, and sometimes it's as much as $80 one way, $40 to $80 one way if you bring just this bag is a little bigger. But I have this bag, and you see the picture here. This is a half carry-on size bag with wheels. So it's easy to carry around, and it's just fine. I found a little hack for this. You can actually bring a shopping bag, or a nice shopping bag like this, and you can see I basically have something that's about the same size as a normal carry-on, and I don't have to pay the extra fee for it, right? And I rarely get, only I think in Europe I had somebody give me an issue with that. But anyway, so you have your underseat bag, which is that little rolling one, and then you can have your other little shopping bag and have other stuff as well. So I love packing light. A lot of us, we realize we pack these big bags, we really don't need a lot there anyway. I can get by on just this little bag, the half carry-on size bag, for about a week, even doing business stuff. And so I'd encourage you to try to pack light because it's awesome. So I want to just get back to my trip to Spain. How did I actually do? Did I spend less than $300? Let's check it out. All right, so how did I do on my trip to Spain? Did I spend less than $300? I'm telling people all this, whatever. Well, I found I actually spent $138 on travel, $112 on food, and $172 on attractions. This includes the cathedral, museums, flamenco shows, the Sagrada Familia, the Royal Alcazar, the Barcelona bus tour, and I spent $423.76. So I did not make my goal of $300. So I'm sorry for everybody I said I spent less than $300. However, I could have spent far less, even less than $300. Here's how I would have done it. If I'd taken the train, one train thing instead of Uber. There's one time I took an Uber that was like a $40 Uber. I could have literally taken the train. It would cost like $5 instead of $40. And then several of the attractions I could have done with points. Now, again, I'm not starving. I don't, I do pretty well financially. I don't have to worry about it, but I could have actually saved $221 just by simply booking those attractions and changing that one Uber. So again, just by doing a few of those things, I would have saved that, and I would have only spent $200.90 for a week in Spain. So I think that's pretty good. I think it's something that we should always try to look to see how we can save money, and of course with personal travel to be able to go. So I'm going to give you my 3 favorite credit cards below. My favorite ones are the American Express Platinum. I got a link to that below. The Chase Sapphire Reserve is a great card. It's a great card for people to start out with. And then the last one is a business card, which is the Chase Inc. Business Preferred. So you can check that out. There's a bunch of cash, a bunch of 100,000 points. Some of these have 60 to 100,000 point bonuses. So check it out. So I encourage you to travel more. I'd love to know your thoughts, where you're traveling, what you think about all this. And anyway, I want to share this quote with you. And it says, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. That's by H. Jackson Brown Jr. So I encourage you to travel more, take the trip, get passive income, get free of just having to be stuck at some sort of job or business, so that you can have those great experiences, so that you can take time with your family, go create those memories. I want to share this video with you, how I left my $200K a year job by passively investing in real estate and covering my living expenses. Check that out up here. And then again, check out those links below. Look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.